The recording to this meeting will be sent out by email along with a questionnaire, which I'm going to explain at the end of this meeting for all of you to complete. That's going to fulfill that mandatory requirement for K-5 programs for the 26-27 school year. I'm going to ask that you stay muted for the presentation of this meeting, just so that I can be mindful of your time and keep the information flowing. But if you have questions that come up while I'm presenting, feel free to put those in the chat. My colleagues, Charmaine and Ree, will be following that chat and will be able to answer all of those questions and have time at the end of the meeting. And that's all my housekeeping notes. So today, our agenda, we're going to start off with always a reminder of Hartford Performs mission and our role in arts education. I'm also going to share with you the Hartford Public Schools district presentation, a recap of their presentation that happened in front of the Board of Education to advocate for our contract approval for the 26-27 school year, which I can happily announce has been approved already, which is earlier than it's ever been approved before, which is incredibly exciting. But why I'm sharing this recap with you, why is it important, and what this means for our programs, for any program, core arts integration program that serves students in grades K to 5th grade. Then I'm going to talk about the questionnaire, what are your next steps, and we'll have some time for questions. Right. So Hartford Performs mission, as it has been for the past number of years, is working in partnership with school systems and artistic communities. Hartford Performs infuses and integrates arts and cultural experiences into teaching and learning in ways that enrich the student experience and improve outcomes across the curriculum. And that continues to be our mission. How we fit into arts education for all students in the arts education ecosystem of Hartford Public Schools is through the community arts provider. I love the image on this screen because it really helps visually articulate where our role is in the school system, that we are working alongside the certified arts educators. In Hartford, they call them unified arts teachers. And we're also working with the certified non-arts educators. That's when we're going into the classroom and bringing our workshops for students during the school day, during that classroom. And all three of us, right? Those three areas provide the most cohesive arts education for all students through standard-based curriculum and deep expertise and professionalism among all of the arts areas and other content areas. So I'm going to take a sip of water first before I get into this. So this is the presentation that occurred on May 7th of Dr. Albert Sacchi, who is the Assistant Superintendent for Teaching and Learning for Hartford Public Schools, as well as Dr. Mario Carrillo, who's the Director of Elementary Teaching and Learning for Hartford Public Schools. And they presented in front of the Hartford Board of Education, Family and Community Engagement Committee in support of the 26-27 Hartford Performs contract. This presentation is live. It's on YouTube. You can watch the full recording, but it's really important to highlight some key points in this presentation for all of you and what that means for us next year. So there's a lot of words on this slide, right? And Mario, again, the Director of Elementary Teaching and Learning, put this together. The presentation starts in sharing why we're here and how we are connected to Hartford Public Schools' vision, core values, and beliefs. how they are aligned with our contract objectives for Hartford Performs. This is justifying that our contract is not just a vendor relationship with Hartford Public Schools, but that the work that we're doing and the objectives that Hartford Performs has are embedded in the Department of Elementary Teaching and Learning's core values and beliefs. If you see and look closely at their beliefs, you'll see that every classroom has future artists, scientists, writers, mathematicians, museums, athletes, and innovators. That's our first belief. And how exciting that Hartford Performs is seen as providing diverse learning experiences to help students discover their passions. Mario makes an explicit point that's saying discovering a passion isn't an accident, but it requires intentional opportunity. And that's why Hartford Performs works with Hartford Public Schools. He goes on to talk about how Hartford Performs is directly connected and aligned with supporting background knowledge and vocabulary with the Wit and Wisdom literacy curriculum. He said very explicitly that comprehension depends on knowledge, and arts experiences build knowledge in ways that texts alone cannot. He's explicitly demonstrating the value in front of the Board of Education that the arts support student learning. This contract is also framed as guaranteeing that every student in every school has rich access to arts experiences, so that your presence in the schools is an equity commitment, not just a bonus or an enrichment. Mario also says that Hartford doesn't just serve students. He makes a point that we are enhancing teachers' capacity through the arts, and that our programs benefit Hartford Public School teachers. He says that when you walk into the school, everyone in the building benefits. And to me, I feel like that raises the bar with how we show up in the district and in our classrooms. Again, this slide is really demonstrating how Hartford performs, and our relationship with Hartford Public Schools is not just a vendor relationship, but it's a direct expression, Mario says, of who they are, what they believe, and what their students deserve. And to me, this is profound to hear a district administrator advocating so deeply and passionately about how our programs directly support student achievement and student learning. He didn't stop there. He goes on to explain the science and benefits of arts integration supporting student knowledge. He cites Natalie Wexler's information from The Knowledge Gap and explains about how knowledge sticks to other knowledge like Velcro. He says that when teaching artists, when all of you deliver arts integrated experiences on the same topic that students are studying in Wit and Wisdom, you're helping to create that sticky Velcro and those knowledge experiences, so that when students have that content knowledge and vocabulary, they're arriving at text already knowing the content visually, kinesthetically, and in conversations. Mario says, and this is a quote, Hartford Performs doesn't supplement our literacy work, it accelerates it. That phrase really sticks with me. He goes on to talk about how we are created, and Ree also presented on this slide, reminding the Board of Education that we were purpose-built in 2009 at the direct request of the Superintendent and Board of Education, and that we exist almost exclusively to serve Hartford Public Schools, that it is our organizational purpose to work in partnership with Hartford Public Schools. And he shows the results of that. When you see on the right-hand side, evaluation statistics, this is from teacher reported outcomes from our most recent annual report and was presented to the Board of Education, showing that teachers that responded to our surveys, 100% of them said students, positive impact of our programs on students was their happiness and enjoyment in their school. Knowledge of the subject matter was 98%. And if you look down, vocabulary is on there as well at 96%, benefiting students from our programs. What's even more remarkable is that Mario then goes on to show wit and wisdom end of module assessment data. This means at the end of a wit and wisdom unit, or modules, how they call it, the teachers perform an assessment task with the students. And Mario is showing the data from those end of assessments and directly connecting the impact of Hartford Performs programs on the increase of those outcomes. So specifically, Hartford Performs building background knowledge and strengthening vocabulary for reading comprehension is a direct correlation between our programs and wit and wisdom. When the district shows academic outcome data that's in support of an arts education contract, that is significant. It means that our work is showing up in numbers that the district is paying attention to, that administrators are paying attention to, that superintendents are paying attention to. That only proves the advocacy and value of Hartford Performs programs that we all know already in our hearts is being demonstrated and displayed in this way. It chokes me up talking about it, honestly. He goes on to show other outcomes as well. Our increase in offsite experiences and assured experience has increased by 170%, and that's only going to continue to increase next year. Overall attendance, we're measuring attendance now based on the promotion of Hartford Performs programs happening either in the school building or students going offsite to have a direct impact. And also, like I said, teachers gaining skills by watching you in their classrooms interact with their students. Teachers are reporting that they're gaining at least one new art strategy that they might be able to continue to use in their classroom after your program has ended. This is meaningful and impactful, and it's a record that we have all built together, that Hartford Performs wants to continue to build and continue to show the impact of our programming on student achievement in schools in Hartford. Another meaningful piece during this presentation was there were some testimonials from some teachers and some principals. This one specifically, Keon Reuters, a second grade teacher at Sanchez Elementary, who spoke very passionately and very explicitly about the connections both with Meredith Arcari's programs and Seasons for Change, that she worked with Keon directly to make sure that the alignment to the module was directly supporting what students were learning and vocabulary students were learning. And then the images that you see on your screen are from Natasha Miles' program around adventures in art and the Ruby Bridges photograph of her being escorted out of school. And again, showing that a direct alignment and support in the content and vocabulary within the Wit and Wisdom modules. So I'm just gonna stop a share for a minute to let that sink in. It's a lot of information. It's quite moving to me. Again, if you have questions or if you have reflections on what was just shared, feel free to put those in the chat so that we can all see them. And just want to take a minute that this is significant, right? The district is making a public, values-driven, academically grounded case for our continued purpose, value, and existence in working with Hartford Public Schools. Right? They've told the board, and by extension, the larger community, exactly what we're supposed to be doing and why it matters. And so now it feels like it's our turn to level up, to meet that bar, because that bar has been raised. The level of trust that the district is putting on us comes with some accountability and responsibility on our end. Right? The district is telling the school board that our programs are building vocabulary and content knowledge aligned to wit and wisdom curriculum. Then that has to be true in every K-5 core arts integration program, in every school, every single time one of us walks through a classroom door. This is not sometimes, or when we remember, or, oh, Emily's going to come observe, or Charmaine or Catherine are going to come see our program, or Ree's bringing a board member. This needs to be every time. And right now, if I'm being completely honest with you, that connection is not always visible. Last year, we made a really good start and attempt at aligning with one module through our roster descriptions. But in terms of what it looks like leveling up, it's not always being said out loud to students, that connection. It's not always, that connection is not always showing up in our program descriptions in ways that teacher or a principal can explicitly point to it and say, yes, this is aligned, this is intentional, this is building on what my students are learning. And so that is the change this year. That is why this meeting is so important. And that's what we're going to talk about for the rest of today. I'm going to go back to sharing my screen. I can find my controls. Okay, yeah. So big picture and why this matters. Again, the district presented to the board in support of renewing our contract, which was renewed just a week ago. And the way that they talk about us is significant. It's not just about kids enjoying our programs. It's about an academic case for why our programs belong in schools. And they are using our work as evidence of supporting student learning. So this is a big deal that I don't want to get lost. What it tells us is that the relationship between arts education and classroom learning is being taken seriously at the district level, and the district seeing us as partners of student achievement. And we need to be accountable partners of student achievement, right? We are not just enrichment. We are not just a reward. We are not just a break from learning to give students something fun to do, right? We are true partners. And so that comes with responsibility, like I said. If the district's going to stand in front of the school board and say our programs support vocabulary development and content knowledge, then we need to make sure that we are actually visibly and audibly doing that in every single program we deliver. So what does that look like? So what's expected for next year? We started this again, like I said, last year, program descriptions. So what you submit, what gets listed, what the schools, teachers, principals, Mario are looking at and seeing before you even walk in the door. What's expected is that every K-5 core arts integration program needs to explicitly name the module it aligns to and the grade level. And this can't be in a vague way. We can't just say this supports literacy. We need to be explicit and specific. For example, we might say this program aligns to grade 1, module 2, creature features unit on the unique features of animals and supports students in building vocabulary and content knowledge around animal similarities and differences. Think of your program description as a promise to the teachers in the schools, right? It tells them, I know what your students are learning. I've designed this experience to connect to that learning. And when I leave, your students are going to have a richer understanding of that content. If your program description doesn't do that right now, that's okay. That's why we are here, and we're going to work on that together. Here's another slide giving you another example. Again, in the program description, we're looking for the grade level and the module being explicitly named. Some of your programs might connect to more than one grade level and module, which you can explicitly name in your program description. But our expectation is there's at least one. That your topic is clear, that there are 2 outcomes connected to vocabulary and content, and that your focus is specific. So this description goes into a little more about creature features, looking at animals, and that it's a visual arts program there where students will use observational drawings to explore animal features, and then names the vocabulary that students will be looking at. What's new this year, right? So we have the program descriptions need to be tightened up. What's new this year is program delivery, right? So I want to be really clear about what we're asking. It's no longer enough for the alignment to only exist on our paper. Students need to see it. Teachers need to hear it and see it. The connection, the bridge needs to be made between what we're doing in the art form and what students are learning in their classroom. It needs to be spoken out loud by you during the program. We can't rely on the teacher making that connection for you. We need to be the bridges and the ushers to make sure that that information is being shared with the students. This is not about changing your program. Let me be clear, not about changing your program. Your program is good. This is about adding an explicit bridge, a moment perhaps at the beginning and a moment at the end where you are making that visible connection, right? So you want to think maybe just, we'll imagine for a minute from a student's perspective, they've been studying, they're 3rd graders, they've been studying outer space for the past couple of weeks, and you come into their program and start creating a dance. And no one makes the connection for them about these 2 things, outer space and dance. And we just do it, and it's amazing, and the kids have fun, and you leave, but they think, oh, we just had a break and did a cool dance. But if you come in introducing and saying, I've heard you've been learning about outer space. Today, we're going to dance the rotation of the Earth around the sun. And we're going to help us understand what rotation means and what it feels like in our bodies. Suddenly, students' brains make that Velcro connection for them, right? You're activating their prior knowledge. They might be able to tell you about the Earth, the sun, the solar system, outer space, all the things they've been studying the past 3 weeks. And now you're giving them a new entry point into the learning, right? For maybe some of the students that hadn't gotten there yet. And that is really powerful. Well, then we're asking at the end to close that loop, to bring it back, to reflect with the students. Why did we dance the rotation of the Earth around the sun today? Who can tell me what rotation means? How did your movements help you understand the meaning of rotation, right? This is building content knowledge. This is vocabulary in action. And that is what the district is talking about. That's what they're asking for when they say we're supporting student learning. So let me be more specific about what we're asking for in terms of the delivery of your program. Again, we're not asking you to change your program, but we're asking for 2 specific moments in your program, 2 touch points that need to be intentional and explicit. One touch point is, again, connecting your art form to what students are currently learning, telling them in plain language why you're there, what they're going to learn about, and how this connects to what they're already doing in their classroom. And then another touch point, bringing it back to the content at some point, asking students to reflect, reinforcing vocabulary or the concepts through this artistic lens and experience that they just had with you. So these two moments are your accountability to the classroom teacher, to the students, right? And to the district. And they're also an advocacy tool, right? When the teacher sees their students using the vocabulary and reinforcing that through your program, that teacher is going to become your biggest champion and cheerleader. Here's some 2 touch point examples. I think having them in the opening and at the closing can be really meaningful ways to introduce what are we going to do, and then have a reflection. Right? And these are the 2 examples that I said earlier around rotation in the solar system. Some of you might have participated in our professional learning a couple of years ago where we made the burgers, right? We're talking about the buns, how you start the program and how you conclude it, right? Your meat, your program, what you do in the middle, that doesn't change, but we're asking you to create 2 touch points at the start and the end. So I know that this might feel like a shift or maybe some added pressure on top of the work that you are already beautifully doing. And I hear that. But also want you to hear the fact that we are being asked to do this as this in align with the district's trust in us to do it, right? Making the district made a case for our value, and now, right, this is our way to visibly prove what we're doing every time we walk into the classroom. And this is why teaching artists exists, right? We are not just artists. We're not just teaching art, but we're using art as the tool for learning. And this is the work. And I genuinely believe every person in this room is completely capable of joining us and helping us build this momentum of showing this impact. So what's going to happen next is I'm going to send out a questionnaire with this recording. I can also put the questionnaire in the chat before we leave today. I'm going to ask that you complete it by Friday, June 5th. It should take 6 to 10 minutes to complete, depending on how many programs you have that serve kindergarten through 5th grade. In this questionnaire, I'm really getting an assessment of where you are in being explicit and connecting to the wit and wisdom curriculum. So telling me how your program description currently aligns with the module and grade level you serve, describing how you are currently or how you plan to make that alignment explicit in your delivery through 2 touch points, how you're reinforcing the content and vocabulary of the module through your program or how you're planning to for next school year, and then getting a sense of your confidence level and where you need support. Really, your answers are going to help us, the programming team, figure out what the next steps are, right? Who needs maybe a one-to-one conversation, what resources we need to continue to provide for wit and wisdom, and if we need to have more sessions or gatherings like this together. All right. I think
Emily, can I raise the question that was in the chat?
Yeah, that question point.
Yeah. So Craig asked, and I'm sure this applies to a number of people who focus specifically on math or SEL or science, is how does this apply to them?
Great question. So math programs, if you're solely a math program, math programs can stay with a math alignment if you are K to 5. If you are science or SEL, those subjects are covered in the wit and wisdom curriculum, and we should be finding an alignment if you haven't found one already. And perhaps you found one last year, but maybe it's not feeling quite right. Then we'll do a follow-up to make sure that that alignment is feeling really strong and meeting the requirements that we're asking of you today. So math, you're going to stay just math. Science, SEL, you should be aligned to wit and wisdom. Other questions that were in the chat or that folks have? Leslie Johnson, I see your hand.
Okay, thanks. If I'm remembering correctly, last year for the first step of the Wit and Wisdom alignment, the Hartford Performs administrators looked at our program and suggested one for us. For example, for my Poetry Alive program, which is K through 5, it was suggested your alignment will be wordplay for grade 5. But I really see that program, it's an umbrella of poetry workshops that is differentiated for every grade level. And I always thought, I mean, and I have, been doing that I can individually connect with what book they're reading for Wit and Wisdom, what program they're doing, depending on the time of the year the student books the program. So am I free to pick a different alignment or pick an alignment for each grade level as I see fit based on the wit and wit, or do I need to clear that with the administration before I change my alignments on my program description?
That's a good question. And I think I've seen some other teaching artists and organizations address though that as well, where there's one that feels really obvious based on the program title. And then within the description, detailed the other alignments and showed those connections and how it can be applied to other grade levels and other modules.
So is it okay to add that this year?
Within the description, but I would stick with the poetry alignment to 5 and the wordplay as your primary module.
But can we change it if we want to, if I don't see that as the primary alignment?
I'm going to say, Leslie, then we should chat one-to-one
Okay, that'd be
to
great.
make sure that we're aligned.
Thanks.
Yeah.
We have a question about middle school.
Okay. How about middle school? This only pertains to programs that are serving students in grades kindergarten through 5th grade. Well, while middle school doesn't have an explicit curriculum alignment at the moment, middle school is being re-examined in current development. So if you also offer a K-8 program, will expect another meeting coming down the road. But I don't want to confuse the two. There's a very clear focus for K to 5 right now.
And Phoebe asks if separate questionnaires need to be filled out for every program they have.
There is a space in the questionnaire for you to list all of the programming that you offer for K to 5. So you should be able to complete one for all of your programs. But let me know if you have hangups with the survey and we can have a conversation.
Bob is asking if the modules are specified in advance of their starting dates, the Wit and Wisdom modules.
The Wit and Wisdom modules are set. There are 4 for every grade level. And we can share what the timing of those modules are, how they're scoped out for each grade so that you know when module 1, I would guess, is roughly happening August to October and module 2, November through December, early January. But I can get that specific time framing for each module so that you know when a teacher is scheduling you at a specific time of the year, what module is happening for that grade level. It's a good question. Thank you. I see Corinne.
Hi, I think this sorry if this is similar to what Leslie was asking. So, right, if we have a program that spans multiple grades, so like let's say our work and play program fits really nicely with the kindergarten wit and wisdom module, but that program spans multiple grades, but so, first and second, but it's not going to fit as nicely with the first grade or second grade wit and wisdom curriculum. Is it okay to list it for those multiple grades and just being clear, like, but this really fits in with the kindergarten module?
Yes, so you're still able to select multiple grades for your program, but in our program roster, you need to detail at least one module, and we're going to ask you pick the one that's the most evident and explicit for a teacher or principal or administrator to see that connection.
Laugh is asking about programs that span grade levels, like for instance, 4 to 8. And does he need to write two separate program offerings, two separate program descriptions?
Yes, please. Yes, we would like to, moving forward, keep K-5 separate from 6 to 8 because of the different curriculum approaches and alignments. So you would list it for 4th and 5th grade, and then 6th, 7th, and 8th. There's a way for us to easily duplicate the copies so you don't have to start from square one.
Bob asked a follow-up question. He wanted to ask if a specific unit is being taught in a classroom or district, such as the outer space example you gave. Is there advanced knowledge of that?
Yes. Yes. So all of the modules for every grade level has a specific title, an essential question. There's also guides about what texts the students read, what artwork the student looks at with the teacher, that you all have access to. Catherine has shared that a few times. We can share that again as a follow-up with this video of our teaching artist resource. Google folder that has all the module alignments.
Delka is asking if wit and wisdom is the only alignment they're focusing on. She's been in a school where their focus was not specifically wit and wisdom, and I understand there are a couple schools that are not, and some special ed classes that also don't seem to follow that curriculum.
Great question. Yep. There are the Montessori schools don't necessarily follow the wit and wisdom curriculum, and special ed classrooms don't necessarily follow the wit and wisdom literacy curriculum. But as a large span of our contract alignment with the district, the focus is on the wit and wisdom alignment. So that's visually what our programs need to show in the alignment. We understand that there is nuance from school to school.
Nina is asking the traffic jam question that we asked Mario ourselves, and that is, if each module is essentially the same type of year, when will they want to be scheduling their programs?
It's a great question. It's one that we continue to discuss with Mario in talking with the Connecticut Museum of Culture and History. That's going to be offering a field trip for kindergarten students aligned with their module. We're giving a 3-month window of when that module spans, of when those students can schedule that field trip. The beauty of wit and wisdom is that the building of content knowledge for each grade level really spans the entire year. And so once a module ends, those skills don't necessarily end. And I think it's okay to be building content prior to the students having that module. And it's also okay reinforcing that content after the students have that module. That's a continual conversation with the district, but we understand the busy schedules of all of our arts providers and partners. So we're advocating to maintain some flexibility, and having programming not be so tied to a time period. Diplomatic answer. Other questions?
Tony is asking how he would access this year's Wit and Wisdom module objectives for each grade.
Yep. So that again is, we have an arts provider resource folder on our Google Drive. We will make that shareable. I'll send that out along with the recording of this video, and the questionnaire link, so that you have it all in one email. I suggest you pin it or flag it or save it, so that you're able to access that information as needed. I think Charmaine also talked about using some handy dandy tools of recapping this program, so you don't need to watch the entire recording if you've viewed it live, and you'll be able to have a summary of some key points and takeaways. So we can include that as well.
Denise says that she's been tying her program to the current module whenever possible, and asks, can we do both the described alignment plus an additional alignment? So if she has a described alignment in her program description and she's in another module time, can she do that too?
Yes. Great. That's why we're, I guess, showing and demonstrating two ways how we're supporting the Wit and Wisdom curriculum, both through our program description and through the program delivery. So when you're in the classroom, you're making that connection, those Velcro sticky knowledge building vocabulary while you're there. Yes. All right. I'm going to put the questionnaire in the chat. To also give some wait time if there's other questions. This questionnaire link is also going to be sent out with the recording of this video and the Google folder, so that you can access the Wit and Wisdom modules and essential questions. All right. Well, we're ending much earlier than I anticipated. Giving you back lots of time, hopefully for your day, maybe to finish this questionnaire and get it in would be great. And I guess I just want to close by saying that what all of you do matters, and that's being explicitly demonstrated by the district and in front of the Board of Education, which is something in my almost 10 years here at Hartford Performs have not seen done as explicitly as it has this year. And so what you do matters. It has always mattered. And what's different now is that the district is saying it publicly and measuring it formally and investing in it intentionally. And that's a huge gift. And it's also a big responsibility. But I want to make sure that every student who experiences your programs this coming year walks away knowing something new, not just feeling something new, but knowing something new. And I know that we all are going to be able to do this together and continue to demonstrate our support of student learning through the arts. So thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. Thank you for your continued efforts and passion that you bring to Hartford students every day. And I hope to see your faces on June 9th at our year-end celebration. So make sure you RSVP for that too. And you'll be getting emails from us on all of this information. Thanks, everybody. Great to see all of you. Have a great rest of your afternoon. Thank you.